I'm going to be doing my mathematical autobiography. So for step one, as I reflected on my mathematical journey, my earliest memories begin in elementary school. I remember math being difficult for me, and I kind of felt like everyone else around me was getting it but me. And that was hard for me because I would come home from school and I knew that when it was time to do math homework, I was going to struggle. So in the 4th grade, I started tutoring, and it still felt like nothing was sticking, but I was really good at memorizing things, so I got by through elementary and middle and high school. Memorizing things was just the way that I was able to get by in math. I had one teacher in the 4th grade who started tutoring with me, and that was Mr. Safel, and he made a big impact on my learning because he was willing to help. And though nothing stuck with me still, he was a fundamental part of my math journey. Step 2 was to examine my mathematical identity. So I still do struggle with math, and I notice that as I was doing the readings and the videos today, that I automatically have a fixed mindset when it comes to math. So the problems that the reading was giving me, I automatically thought that I couldn't do it. And so when I have that thought, it makes me not want to try to do the problem. However, once I put my pen to paper and began the problem, I recognized that there are multiple ways to do it, and I eventually figured it out. So the problem for me was my fixed mindset, and that through the readings and viewings, I recognized that it is so important that I have a growth mindset, not even for me, but for my students, because they can feel that energy, and my attitude is so important. It's not about being or not being a math person, I learned from the videos, because math is like a muscle, just like reading, just like people say they are readers. It's just like a muscle. Anyone can learn it at any time. It's not something that you inherit. If your mom was good at math, it doesn't mean that you're going to be good at math. It's something that you can practice and grow just like a muscle. After the readings, I recognized that my experiences line up with a lot of others. I saw that a lot of people were saying the same things as me, that in class that they felt like they were struggling and everyone else was getting it, and it was really just a memorizing game for them. So there's definitely something comforting in that. And then to build off that, this makes me eager to see what's possible in the classroom, because your attitude is key, and when you have an attitude that is ready to learn and ready to take on whatever task you might be struggling with, it sets you up for success. So for step 3, connecting my experiences to future teaching, some instructional practices I want to replicate that I have seen in placements, so not necessarily my own learning growing up, but in my placements are small groups. I want my students to learn to get inquisitive with math rather than memorizing formulas. I can help my students develop confidence by celebrating their strengths and choosing words that encourage them, rather than rather than saying, oh, that's a tricky problem, you can say, let's tackle this challenge together. And then lastly, one thing that I want to take in for step 3 to my classroom is to use my experiences to influence my teaching of math. Not necessarily in the way that I was taught math, but in the opposite. So instead of just having my students memorize formulas, I want them to think deeper about what they're learning and use multiple methods to get to their answer. And I think that one way I want to do this is through collaboration. So a lot of the learning when I was growing up was you're on your own. You're compared to everyone else in your class. I want my kids to use collaboration and work together to find their answer, because the more they learn from each other, the more methods that they will have to continue in their learning in math. For step 4, synthesizing my learning, one important insight I gained about myself is that I need to have more faith in myself when I do math, because instead of just seeing a math problem and immediately thinking that I can't do it, I believe that I can, and then I'm going to practice all of the methods I know to get to my answer, and methods that I might even stumble upon without even knowing that I'm going to stumble upon a method. So when I encounter a difficult problem, I want my students to remember that attitude is key, and I can demonstrate that through my attitude. And one goal that I have for creating a classroom where math makes sense for all learners is to promote collaboration. Thank you.